Robert Morris, the senior pastor and founder of Gateway Church in Southlake, Texas, a megachurch with weekly attendance of over 100,000, has resigned, and the elder board has retained a law firm. Several days ago, articles emerged regarding a period when he says, "I was in my early 20s, I was involved in inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady in a home where I was staying." In his use of young lady, he minimizes the grave reality that she was in truth a 12-year-old girl. This was the molestation of a child that went on for over 4 years. This and the fallout that's going on in the media now is the result of massive failure with the church leadership over 35 years ago when this took place. Now, this is not just another man caught in sin, submitting to church discipline, repenting. Thankfully, his wife's taken him back. But this is the failure of elders to disqualify a leader who clearly displayed his proclivity to child molestation. He was willing and capable of lying to his wife for years to cover things up. He was willing to do the same to his congregation and the church leadership. But this was all put quickly aside with little consequence, a crime for which others are in prison. And worst of all, this package has been sitting on the sidelines for just the right moment for Satan to pull the trigger and move as publicly as possible to malign the church again. The church elders failed massively by placing in leadership and against biblical directive a recent convert who was unproven, where there could be no evidence if he was even capable of managing a family, thereby managing the church. But it was those elders that put him into a position where he could become conceited, where he could fall into disgrace in the devil's trap, and that's exactly what has happened. And he said he struggled not so much with the sexual problems, but mostly with pride. So I had not even been a Christian for a year when I began to travel and preach the gospel. Pretty heady stuff for someone so young. This was a massive failure for the victim, Cindy, who was exploited by a preacher who the family trusted. They took him into their home. It takes many years for sexually abused children to come to terms with what happened to them, to process everything, to deal with a host of confusing and conflicting feelings. Regarding the law, even most states have extended or even no statutes of limitations on sexual offenses against children, and that's due in part to that fact. But the court recognizes this, and they know that time may be required in bringing abusers to justice. It's really important that the abuser is held to account for his criminal behavior. This is a vital part of the healing process for victims. I think Cindy is right to be appalled at Morris downplaying the gravity of what he did to her when she was just an innocent child. I think she's right to be concerned that there may possibly be others who have been hurt and they're afraid to speak out. But they also need to see justice and get healing. I hope this is not the case. But this is not something the church just gets to absolve and put the abuser back into a powerful position. Jesus said that anyone who hurts children, it would be better for them that a rock be put around their neck and they get thrown into the sea and drowned. It may have been better for Mr. Morris if he had been brought to justice for the crime of abusing a child. It may have been better that he learned humility through maintaining his job at the Motel 6 for a while. And it would have been much better for the church leadership to have done their religious duty and to have disqualified him from church leadership. I know it's disheartening to see these things unfolding, but they must. It's always my goal to encourage, so I want you to read Revelation 2 and 3 and see that Jesus is walking in his churches. He's taking care of business. He knows what's going on, so don't lose your first love. Remember, he's our shepherd. We never put our faith in men. We only put our faith in him. Whatever we hear, we search the scriptures to find out for ourselves if what they're saying lines up. And we protect ourselves and we protect our families from wolves in sheep's clothing. They were there in the beginning of the church. They'll be there to the end. So I want to leave you to consider the qualifications of a church leader. Make sure that your leadership is properly qualified. Whoever aspires to be an overseer desires a noble task. Now the overseer is to be above reproach, faithful to his wife, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not given to drunkenness, not violent but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. He must manage his own family well and see that his children obey him, and he must do so in a manner worthy of full respect. If anyone does not know how to manage his own family, how can he take care of God's church? He must not be a recent convert, or he may become conceited and fall under the same judgment as the devil. And he must have a good reputation with outsiders so that he will not fall into disgrace and into the devil's trap. And they must first be tested. And then, if there's nothing against them, let them serve.